My name is Morgan. It is so wonderful to be here with my best friend in the whole wide world,
Oh,
Tobi.
your other best is gonna be like, excuse me? What did you say?
Y'all know I love you all. But today I'm here with Tobi.
I always say that to whoever is right in front of me.
I'm a Scorpio, baby.
Gotta keep a roster, like keep the leaderboard up.
Anyway,
So,
here.
We are the co-founders of Poché Design Studio. We're a dope design studio, West Coast based, but we're fully remote. So we worldwide. So we West Coast and worldwide.
We do a lot. I would say the summary is we run the business and we support a team of really amazing creatives and women that are just...
I mean, we support, it's a support system. They support us, we support them.
Lord knows I have learned so much from them. They keep us in shape. And we're thankful for them, but we create a lot together, more than the little cards and graphics we thought we would.
We've come so far.
I mean, we'll talk about how we met and all that stuff later, but just know, like, we go way back.
We go way back. We've been locked in for a long time, and now we locked in business wise, so we extra locked in.
And part of the reason why we're here is to just talk about all of the amazing things that we're doing, what we've been working on, and ways that this kind of makes sense for some of y'all out there. So
things that we didn't, things that we didn't know when we started a business, things that we're working on, having this business, sustaining this business. So we're, talking to each other, sharing the information with each other, and also sharing it with y'all. So hope you tap in and enjoy what we have to say. All right.
Whew. Okay, co-designer.
All right.
So our first question is, if you had a cafe, what would you name it? And what are you selling?
Oh, that's a good one. So I would definitely, it would be called Matcha Mommies. And that's me, Matcha Mommy. She stay locked in.
So on cue.
That's for the ASMR baddies. Yeah, Matcha Mommies. I'll have a very just elaborate line of matcha drinks. Very just delicious all around. Like the normal, which would be like the vanilla. You know how I go hard with my matcha.
Yeah, the classic.
And it would be for the food and the treats. It would be, I'm very into like savory, like sweet and savory breakfast sandwich. Like my obsession right now is like these jalapeno cheddar rolls with like cheese and like ham, and then putting jam and then hot sauce.
Oh, the hot sauce is twist.
Oh, I'll be putting the sriracha and then the like spicy habanero. That's like my current like breakfast fixation. So it would be like different sorts of sweet and savory treats that like with matcha that pair well with different kinds of matcha.
So my my diner name would likely be something very simple and straightforward, and it would just be called Mo's Skillet.
She whipping it. Whipping it.
You're like, what's on the menu today?
What's on Mo's Skillet?
I don't know. I have not looked in the fridge because I did not order groceries, bro. I went to the market, grabbed some shit, and that's what we eat it.
Like, walk off attitude. Do your food.
It's going to taste good. It's going to be salty and delicious. You're going to need to nap after, but that is Mo's Skillet. And like,
what's on Mo's Skillet?
We're going to have cornbread, whatever you can make in a cast iron skillet, that's what I'll make. And then, like coffee and whatever. I'm sure, right. We healthy at the end of the day, so I'm sure there'll be a juicer or whatever. Yeah. Actually, there is a restaurant in St. Louis, or outside of St. Louis, that is called Broad Rolls or something like that. It's like a weird first word, but it's some version of throwed rolls.
Throwed rolls.
Yes, and I think I was a kid when we went, but I believe the entire premise of the restaurant is that when you get there, if you raise your hand, they'll throw you a roll.
So, like, who was throwing the rolls? Like the person from like behind the counter, like the waitress is like,
no
here's
idea.
a roll. You was just.
I have a feeling they were walking around with buckets of rolls. Like, that seems like a memory.
And then you can.
Yeah, and it was kind of like popcorn at the baseball stadium.
Oh my god!
They were mean though, and I don't remember anything other than the throw rolls. But
well, I think that's an actual good like place to pivot to small business bartering.
How so, Tobi?
Walk with me. Throw rolls is a business, right?
Yes, it is.
If you were to like visit St. Louis again at some point, and you were like, "Wow, this is an interesting experience. Like, I want to have this experience without having to pay for it. Maybe I can help you with your brand. Like you have transferable skills. Right. Maybe they need to refresh the building. Maybe they need to give it a facelift. Like that. I mean, small business bartering. So for you, what would that look like? Or in general, and this is what we're saying this because it's something that we're very passionate about in general. But I think it's a cool, like thinking about, again, like throw rolls as a case study or an example. Like, how would you step in and be like, let's barter, baby?
So if I was in St. Louis visiting, because I don't need to live there. If I was in St. Louis and I visited this restaurant and I was like, ooh, y'all clearly have had zero help graphically, any part in the visuals department since you started this. Not having up-to-date branding like really hurt you in the end. And so not having branding that can live a long time or withstand all of the many changes that happens within the design world, if you're not staying up to date with that, then you're falling behind and people are falling out of interest with you. So unless they had somebody on staff and keeping their organization up to date, that would be my first throw, because you're going to need to at least update your colors, like simple things as changing your line types, even just throwing out different shapes. Like if you have iconography that you're using, simply changing out some of these little things can really help boost your branding. But bringing in a team of experts can help find other ways to infiltrate and make your branding refresh more impactful. And so that would be the first. The second would be a website, in which case I'll actually throw this to Tobi. Like, what are some other ways that you would throw it in? Because a website is easy peasy.
Yeah. So yes, definitely like thinking about like branding, bringing them up front to like not that they're not in the 21st century, but updating digital presence, updating branding. But what I think is also super interesting is like, especially for like, okay, on our end, it's kind of there's a thought of like, what would I get out of this? And I would especially recommend this for people who are newer creatives that are trying to get their name out there and trying to get their work out there and show people like, hey, I can do this work. Having like real life work that you can show for it is like a good trade-off. So it's thinking about like, okay, first of all, why would this be worth giving up my time to design a website or design their branding or just literally do anything for them for free? Maybe you are passionate about the different type of dining experience that they give, and then taking those elements and seeing how you can bring that dynamic nature of the eating and throwing rolls experience into their branding, into their website. Like, is there like on my personal website, I have this like bouncing ball that like on the header part, it just like bounces from back and forth. Do they have a roll like ricocheting back and forth, and even thinking about like maybe the cursor? You know, there's interesting ways that you can then say like, let's take the experience of what people are having in the diner into digital, into brand, into all these different assets. But I think also that thought of where do they come in and where does this benefit me or elevate the work that I do or elevate the work that they do as well. I think that have you bartered in your life, like in other ways, shapes, or form? Do you enjoy bartering? How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm super nice. So, bartering is an interesting experience because it is a lesson in boundaries.
Boundaries.
Together they go. Oh my goodness. And I'm recently reestablishing how to establish my boundaries. Tobi has been fortifying hers.
The walls are already there. Like sometimes I have to reinforce some of it. But
you know, I was like, the girls are to work. The boundaries are going up. So, but in order to barter, you do need to have a boundary of respect to reward, and the effort still needs to be there, even though in essence the project is free of cost. But that does not mean that the project is free of effort. And so like that is where the boundaries do come in, because there's been instances in my life where you do something for free for someone in hopes that they'll do something back for you in return, and vice versa, where somebody is left upset. And so the lack of having money there that most of us are comfortable using as a form of currency, not having that kind of sucks, because you're like, oh, well, I wanted to pay $100 for this, but this is $60 worth of work. And so quantifying that in effort is difficult. So that's where the boundaries come in. So all of that to say, yes, I do, but I don't like to, because usually
you tend to find yourself being on the receiving end of like the bad part of it. Like you've given more than you've got.
Sometimes, I mean, part of learning about the ADHD was learning that I was going to let people down. So like part of it was that I had to stop bartering because it was a detriment to me. I was offering too much effort for a project that, you know, may not have been as much as I was willing to give in terms of effort. There have been times where I've let people down, and I'm like, you know, I'm sorry. And that sucks to be in that position. But at the same time, anybody who's been the savior to a project knows what it's like to be in the position of the barter who has given more. And that's the trick. It is a balancing act for sure. We've gotten good at it because we've done it enough times. But the barter, yeah, I appreciate it as a gift, but you have to have established boundaries. And I think working with people who also have established boundaries is very critical in it being successful. And outlining the expectations is critical. Outlining the timeline is critical. And then also outlining what happens when something falls or misses. And I think that's one of the misconceptions with barter, is that it is still a priority. In our case, I would almost say it's even more of a priority, because we think about what we're getting in return. I think about it more in terms of what we're giving, because usually what we're getting is something that we really need. And that is where I'll throw it back to Tobi.
It's interesting because I feel like we have gotten better at bartering. Especially you start to see people, like you see people and you see that like, do they want to actually like have an exchange, or do they want to just get something and take that and go? So there's a bit of discernment that I feel like is the first, even before you decide like, is this somebody I want to barter with? Like there's a discernment of like, is this a good person? Like, have I seen this person like fuck over other people in their lives and like not follow up in things in life? Like, have they said, oh, I'm going to start doing this thing, I want to do this thing, and then they never follow through with those like, little things like that. Like, we'll tell you, like, is this somebody that I would want to barter with? And then also setting, like you said, the clear outline of deliverables and what I'm getting. But then there's also a measure of like impact. Like if maybe I'm only getting something that feels small, but this person, and not to say this is how you should think of people, this person has a network to people that I want to have access to, or they are friends with this podcaster that I want to get an intro, or just like other things that you can, that are more impactful and less tangible. So you're like, in exchange of me, and it's not ever like an unweighed thing of like, I'm giving you a 10-page website and you're giving me a LinkedIn introduction to somebody. Like, no, that's not equally
it's got to be transferable.
It has to be transferable, and the impact also has to be measurable on both sides. But there's different like touch points that you can see where someone is giving something that maybe is more tangible, and in return you're getting something that's like more impactful to you. So I guess that play between tangible and impact, and like how that relates with if the thing that you're getting and giving is both of those things, and that is happening, you're getting that back in return. Successful barter.
Yeah.
And I do love the idea of the fact that that is the original way of currency. Like when we, before gold and anything and currency it became a thing.
Yeah.
Because everything was created. Nothing literally is real. Everything is made up. Sorry to get existential, but before all of that, that's what we were doing. We were bartering. We said, like, there's this thing that I have and I want to give in return for this thing that I need in exchange. There's even these groups that they're called like pay nothing groups or something, where it's supposed to be, I say like, oh, I have this like thing that I don't need anymore. And somebody can come and you can swap, or you can just give it away. And then people are like, how do you start to measure, like, is somebody taking too much and not giving? And there's people that are like, I look and see if this person that is asking me for, hey, I want this free thing from you. I look in the group, have they given anything to anybody? Or are they constantly like, me? So there'll always be people that try to take advantage, but.
Well, and like that brings up an interesting point, because something that we do, and part of why I think we're actually pretty successful at bartering, is that we're not afraid to negotiate. More so, Tobi is not afraid to negotiate. Thank you.
You're not about to play with my money.
But like, we're not afraid to be like, that doesn't feel like enough for what we're offering, because one thing about being established is that we're aware of how much it takes to do something. And even if that's something that we are doing, something that we're passing to our designers to do, whether that's something that we need to ask our peripherals help for, like no matter what that task is, we likely have an understanding of what it takes to get it done. So positioning our worth in terms of time or effort is a little bit easier for us to understand what we're getting back. And that's also a conversation that we're able to have maturely with other creatives or etc., whoever we're working with, in terms of telling us what they're worth. And that actually, you know, is part of what Tobi and I do well, I think, which is just like understanding each other, but also the people that we're working with. So if somebody came to us and they were like, I don't know, we needed to buy these plants, right? We were like, yeah, but we're also not going to spend $800 on these beautiful trees. Like, how can we X, Y, and Z? And it's like, if they told us these trees were worth $800, but they were willing to sell them to us for $400, we would know what that would cost in terms of our effort, and vice versa from them.
I was even thinking like another way to think about it in our situation too would be like, if I were to like delegate this, and this is a perfect parlay to the next topic. If I were to delegate this to somebody on our team, we are the ones taking on that hourly cost of them doing that thing. So there's a tangible amount that we know that even if we like fluctuate how much we pay ourselves, how much we pay our people, is like they spend this X amount of hours doing this thing. Did this lead to more client paid work? And so if I spend $250 getting this thing done, and in return I get I do this for free, and then that person brings in a paid project that's $5,000,
right?
Then it's literally like, oh, actually I'm giving up this time and actually putting this investment of $250 led to this project. And so there's that tangible exchange of like that. But I'm going to use that as a great parlay into our next question, which is the pilot and the engine. Diversifying and delegating. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, this is a fun one.
Yeah, this is a fun one. This is a really good one.
So we talked about this actually the other day, but the pilot and the engine. So I guess this is a little bit of a story time. Let's go. I be talking really fast, so hold on, guys. That's called ADHD. Anyways, so here we go. So long story short, hopefully most of y'all know. If you don't know, I work a full-time job, which means, you know, for most of the day, most of the week, my phone is on silent. You cannot reach me. Tobi can, but my mom can. My dad can. My brothers can. Outside of that, you probably cannot reach me because I'm focused on trying to be an architect.
Yeah.
And so running a business is very different for me as it is for other people, including my wonderful business partner, best friend here, who has a different life day than I do entirely. And so we're working differently on Poché. And like, you can explain.
We're trying to get the same goals.
Right. Yep. Like this is our baby, you know, we're committed to it. Well, 100%. Part of how we have learned to communicate with each other, to work with each other, to not that this ever did happen, but as a way to prevent it from feeling competitive with each other, like all of these things that
not stepping on each other's toes.
Right. Like trusting each other. That is, I mean, like, I think more than anything, we have trust down.
Yeah. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives struggle with. Like, I hear this all the time where they're like, how do I trust somebody to like come in and help me to do this? And it's like, bro, you're here not trusting people and burnt out and up under and cannot and tired. But yeah, so trust, number one. But obviously, we know why it's hard to trust people.
For sure. Because, I mean, every once in a while, y'all, I be talking about these voices in my head. They're all my voice, so it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It's all you. It's all you. It's all you. It's all there.
One of them, though, she'd be like, Tobi, cool, right? Like, we don't need to check the bank account. And I'm like,
and check it. It's all there.
The rest of me is like, what you looking for, bro?
You know what I love, though? It's like, even with that, like, it's not a bad thing to have that. It's especially those moments where you have that and you lean into that and you're like, my gut tells me to check something and everything is as it should be.
Yeah.
Great. That's how it should be.
Literally, because I mean, I think that comment has doubled in time each time I have it. So it used to be like every 2-3 weeks.
I love it because again, it's just that checkpoints too of like we talk about Rihanna and her accountant. Like people, well, not just Rihanna, but so many people have situations where it's not that they're nonchalant or they're just lazy or they're too trusting, but it's like you don't know people. You actually don't know people. And I think to trust people, you have to have them show you that you can trust them. And when you have those moments and you're like, great, check.
That's just like really a huge part of everything we do. Trust and communication. Like, I mean, we're human, and I think we we have always just, we could go deep. I don't want to. Like, you know, like we've always appreciated that about each other. So like, you know, we've always treated each other as humans in ways that other people may not. And so having that level of respect as well, those might be the trifecta, trust, communication, and respect. Because without those, I don't have eyes on the business in the way that other business owners probably have the perspective of. And it's been honestly a hard struggle trying to accept that I'm just like, I'm the we talk about it a few ways, but one of the primary ways we talk about it is that I'm the father that works. Like, I come, I give you money, and I go back to work. I'm like, I'll see you guys at graduation. And and that's what it feels like sometimes. And it took me a long time to accept that, like, sometimes I just have to sit at the back as a way to let other people do what they're really, really great at.
Even for you to be able to do what you're really, really great at.
Right. Like, everything is so transferable. It's the entire reason that we're here, actually. And it's beautiful to serve as the engine, as Tobi serves as the pilot.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's really beautiful is I think that we are constantly interchanging on those roles, which is helpful because, again, back to that thing of not stepping on each other's toes, where there's things that you do very well, like taxes. I was like, girl, I don't be paying taxes. But I have a business partner who is like, that is like her shit. She's like, I won't sleep. Like, I will have nightmares if the taxes aren't done. And I'm like, wonderful. I hope, like I said, hope the IRS don't come for me. Me too. We got audit protection. And even if we do get audited, like, again, everything is where it's supposed to be and everything is reported as is. But even just being able to have, like you said, trust, communication, respect, and being able to trust the other person. Like, if I am the engine and you are steering the ship or boat or flight or whatever, like you are steering it, and I trust your instincts to have that. And I think what's, again, nice, we have 8 years of friendship and almost 5 years of being kind of business partners. And in that time, like we've proved and shown each other, also disappointed each other, and that's part of it. It's part of it, because when you disappoint, but the thing about the disappointments too is, like, oh, it's because I am actually not good at this thing. I try to carry this thing that I'm actually not good at because I thought it would.
Just recognizing like, hey, I need you to just focus over here for a second,
so
and
I can really focus on that.
And like it's really having each other's back, because I think what Tobi has not said yet is what she does every day.
Yeah, I do so much.
That's part of it. Is like, I'm at my 9 to 5. I'm a fitness girly. I love being social, hair, makeup, social. Like, love shopping. Like, we're outside, we're active, we have like amazing friends. All of these things, and we're trying to run a business, and we're trying to.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do think, yes. So, I mean, I do a lot. I teach. So I'm in the mornings, I'm teaching, and I started time tracking. Side eye. I started time tracking because you don't time track. One day Morgan will start tracking her time, but today's not that day. But I started time tracking. Like I usually fall in and out of the habit of it, but I'm back in it. Shout out to Toggle Track. Because it actually will show you like what tabs you have open on your computer. So it'll be like, you were on Google Chrome for like 98%. Now I was in a meeting, and now like I can plug it in. So it's helpful for that, where you're not just like, girl, I don't know what I could not tell you, but it kind of tracks your so if I'm like an illustrator, it can't tell me which tab I'm in Chrome, but it can just tell me I'm in Chrome. But with that is, I'm really noticing, I'm like, God, bitch, how are you doing 10-hour days every day of the week? Like, this is why I'm so tired and my brain just wants to switch off. And I just want to be a vegetable, like, and just like after, when I get home, I'm just like, I'm just sitting on this couch melting until I go to bed. But all that to say, even within that, even with carrying a lot of that and like doing a lot of the day in, day out of like running the business, I cannot do that alone, and I don't do it alone, which is wonderful, period, to be in a position, because that's the thing. A lot of creatives think that they don't have that, but that's part of that is because they're not tapping into their network and bartering and seeing who can alleviate your stress and how you can alleviate their stress. But for us personally, like with my day-to-day, if I were to try to do all the things that I had to do by myself, I would just crumble. Like there's things like little things like where we're talking about the website survey for a client. So trying to get copywriting for a client, I'm like, I need to make a survey, and that is on my list of 100 things to do. It's not 101. I can be like, oh wait, Morgan, you are so good at making questions. Like y'all don't understand how words, my brain, like I can say words, but thinking words and writing them, I'm like, I am Tobi. I am human. Like, it just doesn't click. And that's fine. Like, again, knowing the things that come naturally to me versus the things that come naturally to Morgan, and being able to just say like, hey, can you help me give me some questions for the survey that I'm working on, and being able to plug that in. Hey, Amira, can we plug that in? Hey, Micah, can we? So being able to tap into the other people on the team that can do either the same thing that I can do, or do something better or quicker or just different, that I can then say, okay, this is what the task that I have to do, not just because I can do it, I'm supposed to be doing that. So
I guess part of my question would be, how have you over the past few years really learned to figure out what stays on your list and what goes off of your list? Because understanding what a task takes and who can do that task, like those are things that are really intuitive to do well. People can do it, but to do it well is differently. And so what are your methods?
Girl, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress for sure. Like, this is so silly, but deleting TikTok helped. I realized that I would go on TikTok and then I would lose hours at a time. Like, I wouldn't lose like 5 minutes. I would just lose like chunks of my day. It just scrolling through TikTok. And I was like, this cannot keep happening. So this is not sustainable. So with that, like, I would like, so first of all, eliminating the distractions and like the things that were actually eating up my time unnecessarily, and then reevaluating what I have capacity for. I'm good at being like, add that to my list, add that to my list, add that to my list. Then when it comes to now looking at my, like, how I'm going to time block my day, what I'm going to focus on today. So like, I tend to, depending on how my Mondays and Tuesdays are, depending on how meeting heavy that they are, I might not get to design till Wednesday. And I've tried to now curate my time. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, I gather data on myself, and then I kind of like change things and move things around based on that data. So like finding out how like I would only get to like design on Wednesdays, but because of just the way that Wednesday was, or the way my Wednesdays were, I would sometimes have client meetings on Wednesdays, and I realized that like having meetings on Wednesdays like throws me out of my creative flow. So if I'm working on something, I'm like, then like the 30 minutes before a meeting, I'm like mentally preparing for the meeting, and then 30 minutes after the meeting, I'm decompressing from the meeting, and that's not like 2 hours gone, and then like trying to hop back into creative flow. And I was like, you know what? No meetings on Wednesdays if I can help it, unless it's like absolutely there's no other time that works. So then clearing that out that day, and then knowing and then understanding, like actually being like prepared for my Mondays and Tuesdays being like very admin heavy. And even with that, so reevaluating my list and then fitting things where they make sense. And then when they don't make sense, then being like, okay, also who else can do this? And like there's actually other people that are here ready to do this. So asking for help is now that next step of like, hey, can you help me do this? Or hey, can you help me do that? And there's also things that fall through. I'm just like, oh, it'd just be quicker if I do it myself, or oh, it could just be but everybody can wait. Something that I'm starting to get better at is not everybody needs to get a response to their email in the hour that they send it, or even in the day that they send it in. So yeah, keeping stuff on underread and circle back to that email when I have time for it. So
hear from me when I can
answer. Yeah, you exactly. Switching to that attitude again, based on the data. If it's taking me 2 hours to go through emails, maybe I can divide it into like 15 minutes throughout my day, instead of like just sitting through and trying to like go through that. Because what I could work on for 30 minutes could take me 2 hours. It just, that constantly gathering data on myself and seeing what's working, what feels good, and then alleviating what doesn't, but still a work in progress. Is that I still have a lot of touch points, but I'm trying to have less. But you know, that's what happens when you're a business owner and a mother to a business. You're just working. But yeah, no, that was really, really good. I think that we did it. We did it. Go us. So thank you for hanging out with us. All right, love y'all. Bye. See you on the next one. Wow.